Unaware that he actually owned the company behind their $800 million deal, they poured wine on him in front of 200 guests, calling him unqualified. No one realized the man they insulted was the key investor funding the entire agreement. Phones were recording. Quiet murmurs spread quickly. Something shifted in his expression as he walked out silently, and the consequences started before anyone noticed he had left. Before we continue, we'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. Your support truly matters and helps us bring more meaningful stories. Now let's begin. You know those nights where everything seems polished, yet something unpleasant hides beneath the shine? That was the mood when Jamal Rivers entered the high-end grand ballroom. He wore a navy suit, clean fade, simple watch, nothing eye-catching. The kind of appearance wealthy people overlook because it doesn't demand attention. He preferred it that way. Let them guess. Crystal lights hung above white tablecloths. A string quartet played softly, though few bothered to notice. Perfume mixed with the scent of steak and wine. Phones were everywhere. No one wanted to miss proof they had been there. On every screen, one logo kept rotating: Hale Quantum Systems. Their major $800 million deal with an unnamed investor was all anyone discussed. Staff whispered about it in the hallways. Guests bragged as if they were part of it. Jamal moved through the crowd slowly, hands in pockets, eyes observing the room. Security had already stopped him once at the entrance. The guard looked him up and down and asked, "You with catering, sir?" Jamal simply smiled and showed his black invitation card with the silver seal. The guard stepped aside, embarrassed, but the tone lingered. Inside, the same attitude followed him. Two women in sequins glanced at him, then shifted their clutches to the other arm, as if avoiding contact. A man in a tux stepped in front of him at the bar and joked, "Staff first, right?" Jamal just moved slightly aside and ordered water. No need to justify anything. If tonight unfolded the way he intended, no explanations would be needed. At the far end of the hall, cameras turned toward the stage as the host tapped the microphone. His voice echoed through the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hale Quantum Systems Gala." Heads turned, and applause rose like a routine gesture. Jamal stood near a column, close enough to observe, distant enough to remain unnoticed. The host smiled broadly. "Tonight, we celebrate a groundbreaking partnership. $800 million. A contract set to reshape the city, the market, and possibly more." The room's ambition grew heavier. Then she arrived. Vanessa Hale, the CEO's wife, stepped onto the stage in a gold dress that caught every trace of light. She waved with practiced grace, her red lipstick perfectly set. Beside her stood her husband, Richard Hale, the public face of the company, wearing a sharply tailored suit. Everyone watched them. Everyone except the man who actually owned the company preparing to finalize the deal. Jamal. Whispers began before Jamal even moved. People noticed him from the corners of their eyes, nudging one another as if he had entered through a side door. A server walked by with a tray of wine, and one guest leaned toward her friend. "I'm telling you, that guy keeps showing up where he doesn't belong. Maybe he's staff trying to slip in." Her friend laughed quietly. "Nice suit, though." Jamal paid no attention. He moved through the crowd calmly, hands loose, steps steady. The carpet felt soft beneath his shoes, thick enough to mute his footsteps. He watched the stage from a distance, his expression focused and steady. Vanessa noticed him first. Her smirk appeared slowly, as if she recognized someone she had already formed an opinion about. She leaned toward her husband, and Richard's brows lowered. Richard stepped off the stage with a practiced smile and walked directly toward Jamal. His expression was controlled. "Sir, are you supposed to be standing here?" he asked, tapping Jamal's sleeve lightly, as if expecting a reaction. Jamal answered in a calm tone. "I'm fine here. Just observing." Richard let out a short laugh. "Observing, right?" He snapped his fingers at a server. "Get him a towel or something. Looks like he's sweating through that low-budget suit." Several guests turned to look, pretending not to be obvious. One man whispered loudly, "Who let him into VIP? The staff entrance is on the other side." Vanessa approached next, heels clicking in a smooth rhythm. She picked up a glass of red wine from a passing tray without even glancing at the server. She looked Jamal up and down. "You know, if you needed work tonight, you could have signed up. Pretending to be a guest isn't the way to go." Jamal stayed quiet. His calm seemed to unsettle them even more. Vanessa stepped forward, lifting the wine glass slowly. Go take this to table 3. They're waiting. She pushed it toward his chest. When he didn't take it, her smile thinned. Seriously? Do your job. Richard picked the glass from her hand. Let me. He raised it slightly, eyes shifting toward the crowd. One less confused worker disrupting the mood. Then he tipped the glass forward, letting the wine spill onto Jamal's suit. The liquid hit warm and sharp, a few drops sliding down his collar. Soft gasps moved through the room. Someone murmured, "Wow, he really did that." Another lifted their phone to record. Vanessa gave a quiet laugh. Maybe now he understands his place. Jamal brushed his jaw with 2 fingers, slow, steady. He adjusted his sleeve, straightened his stance, and walked toward the exit without saying a word. A server whispered as he passed. That man walked out like he owned the place. No one believed it. The hallway outside the ballroom felt cooler, almost silent compared to the room he had left behind. Jamal walked with controlled steps, fingertips lightly touching his jacket where the wine had dried into a dark stain. He exhaled once, quiet and steady, then reached into his pocket and took out his phone. The screen lit his face with a soft glow. He tapped a single number. A voice answered immediately. "Ready for instructions, sir." Jamal kept his tone even. "Pull the offer. Close every channel. Announce it now." "Understood." He ended the call without reaction. A couple stood near the elevator, watching him like they recognized him but couldn't place from where. The woman murmured, "That's the guy they spilled wine on." He didn't respond. The man shook his head. "People never expect the quiet ones to respond," he said. Jamal pressed the elevator button and gave them a brief nod. Nothing more. As he descended, he loosened his tie slightly. The faint scent of wine still clung to the fabric. The elevator hummed with soft music, almost blending into the background. His reflection in the mirrored wall looked back at him. Steady gaze, calm expression. A second message appeared on his phone. The legal team had already confirmed the action. Everything was in motion. When the doors opened, the lobby was busy with guests stepping out for calls, drinks, or quick gossip. Someone noticed the stain on his suit and whispered, "That's him." He heard another voice near the bar say, "Something's off. You don't carry yourself like that unless you're someone important." Jamal walked past without slowing. Outside, the night air carried a touch of cold, sharpening his thoughts. A valet hurried toward him, but Jamal raised a hand slightly. "Walking is fine." The valet stepped back, uncertain. As Jamal crossed the driveway, the ballroom lights stretched across the pavement. Music inside rose for a moment, then stopped suddenly. People near the windows looked around, confused. A man at the entrance muttered, "Why did everything stop?" Something happened in there. Maybe an issue with the deal. His date shrugged, but her eyes stayed focused on the room. Jamal reached the corner of the parking lot. His phone vibrated again. A message appeared. Announcement delivered. Partners notified. He locked the screen and slipped the phone back into his pocket. Behind him, the hotel's glass doors swung open sharply. Voices rose in surprise. Chairs shifted. A sudden wave of confusion moved through the lobby. Guests rushed toward the entrance, trying to figure out what had gone wrong. Jamal didn't look back. He stepped into the streetlight, shoulders relaxed, expression neutral, moving with the same steady certainty he had shown all night. As the city continued around him, the first signs of the fallout began inside the ballroom he had just walked away from. He kept moving. The night moved with him. Inside the ballroom, everything shifted at once. The music stopped mid-note, the screens flickered, and the host froze with his smile half raised. A tall man in a gray suit hurried between tables, phone pressed to his ear. His expression shifted from confusion to concern. He whispered something to the host, who immediately went pale. Richard noticed it first. "What's happening?" he asked sharply. The host swallowed. "The signing is suspended." The room erupted. Conversations rose quickly, overlapping in sharp bursts. Someone near the stage muttered, "Suspended? For what?" A woman whispered to her partner, "That makes no sense. You don't pause an $800 million deal in the middle of a gala." Vanessa tried to keep her posture steady, but her hand shook slightly. She leaned toward the host. "Who issued that order?" The host looked uneasy. "It came from the top." The partner said the instruction is final. Richard's jaw tightened. "Who is the top?" "I am the top." The host shook his head. "Not tonight." Across the room, executives checked their phones. Notifications appeared quickly, each one more concerning. Someone said, Every account linked to Hail Quantum just got frozen. Another added, investors are pulling out. My screen is completely red. Gasps spread through the hall. Cameras clicked again. Even the servers stood still. Then someone near the doors nudged a friend. Look at this. The friend leaned closer, eyes widening. Wait, isn't that the guy they spilled wine on? A video played on a phone. The clip showed Richard pouring wine on Jamal, clear and undeniable, Vanessa smirking beside him. The caption read, "They insulted a man they assumed was staff." Another line followed. "He walked out like he owned the place." The clip moved through the room quickly. Guests stared, phones raised. The gasps turned into a sharp silence. Vanessa gripped Richard's arm. "Fix it. Now." He shot back, "I don't even know what went wrong." Her voice strained. Someone did this intentionally. A new alert flashed across the main display screens. Hail Quantum Systems, contract terminated. Richard blinked, confused. Terminated? No warning? No talks? A board member rushed toward him. "This is disastrous. Do you understand who you offended?" Richard snapped. "I offended no one." The board member replied firmly. "You offended the man who financed this deal." Vanessa's breath caught. "Who?" The board member lowered his voice. "Jamal Rivers." Richard's face drained. The board member added, "He owns the partner company. All of it." A wave of shock moved through the hall. A server whispered, "Told you he didn't walk like staff." Another replied, "They chose the wrong person to disrespect." Richard looked around like the air had disappeared. Vanessa pressed a hand to her forehead, her makeup smudging. Her voice wavered. "We poured wine on the investor. The fallout hit fully. Guests stepped back. Some left quietly. Others recorded everything. Hail Quantum's future began collapsing in real time. And outside, Jamal kept walking. Morning came hard for Richard and Vanessa. News headlines filled every screen before sunrise. Footage of the wine incident played repeatedly. Online comments criticized them without restraint. Investors pulled back. Partners disappeared. Several board members resigned overnight. Hail Quantum's value dropped so quickly it didn't seem real. Vanessa barely rested. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands unsteady, mascara smeared, her phone vibrating nonstop. Richard moved around the room, hair untidy, shirt creased. Every call he made ended the same way. "We're done. Don't contact us again." By noon, Vanessa said, "We need to speak to him. If we don't, everything is finished." Richard paused, then gave a small nod. They drove to Jamal's quiet neighborhood, a sharp contrast to their chaotic morning. When Jamal opened the door, he looked at them calmly, as if none of the turmoil affected him. Vanessa spoke first, her voice unsteady. "We were wrong. We treated you poorly. Please allow us to correct this." Richard added, voice shaking, "We've lost everything. Just give us a moment to talk." Jamal stepped aside slightly, but didn't welcome them in. His tone stayed gentle but firm. "You didn't lose everything today. You lost at the moment you decided people's value depended on your comfort." They said nothing. He continued, "You created an environment where you assumed disrespect came with no consequences. Now you're seeing the results." Vanessa wiped her face and whispered, "We didn't know who you were." Jamal replied, "That's exactly the issue. You never cared who I was." Richard cleared his throat. "Is there anything we can do?" Jamal shook his head once. "The deal is finished. The trust is gone. And my door is closed." He stepped back and ended with a calm final line. "Move carefully. The world is smaller than you think." They walked away with nothing. His life continued. Their reputation did not. If you want more stories where power shifts instantly and accountability arrives clearly, hit follow and stay connected.